go first.
Chair Horn.
Here.
Vice Chair Slick.
Here.
Secretary Gork here. Alderman Nelson.
Here.
And then Commissioner Sharma.
Here.
Good. Next, we will do the pledge.
The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Next, we'll do citizen comment period. Is there anyone here wishing?
Ma'am, would you put that phone up to your mouth a little bit closer?
Is there anyone here for the citizen comment period?
Yes.
Please step forward, state your name, address. Thank you.
Leroy Lewandowski, 80. I came here to ask that the Environmental Commission here would do some different things. Good example is the disposal of leaves. Leaves they burn, ruins the environment. We got to do something else. The other issue is fireplaces, and they're burning wood. That comes into my garage. The smell. And I would like to see that the city would pass an ordinance whereby there would be no more wooden burning fireplaces in the house in the next 6 years or so. Gas operated. 30 years ago when I came here, I put a gas one in, and I'm never so happy that I did it because there's no dust, no smoke, no dirt. But I'd like to see stopping burning the wood. If you want to do something big about stopping burning the wood. If you want to do something big about the environment, those are things that you people can go after. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for citizen comment period? For citizen comment period?
Me again, yes. Dana Gint, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane, and I will keep coming until you turn down the noise at the Rock. I have a couple emails here. One is from Police Chief Rick. I have a couple emails here. One is from Police Chief Rick Oliva, if I pronounce it correctly. This is May of 2020, and it says all calls for the Rock for excessive noise are to be logged into the CAD, but no officer is to be sent. The caller, whether it's Greendale or Franklin resident, advise something to the effect of this. The city's planning department will be checking the decibel levels and take appropriate action if they exceed the limits. And this goes for all excessive noise complaints, i.e. outdoor movies, baseball games, announcements, umbrella bar music, etc. So let's take a note of this date. This was when the police department pretty much was asked to stand down. This is May 28th, 2020. If anybody remembers, the drive-in movies were approved without a 24-hour notice. They amended the agenda within 23 hours, forced to add the Rock Sports Complex drive-in movie thing, and they had 100 movies before they actually switched it to AM and FM. So I find it really fascinating that all of a sudden the police department doesn't want to get involved in noise complaints because citizens were calling and complaining about profanity inside their house at 1 in the morning for weeks. Okay. So, and the other thing I would like is that the Environmental Committee direct the planning staff to evaluate exactly how 79 decibels was established at this development. I can tell you the date. It was June 7th, 2018, and the level was established for the PDD on that date because the developer indicated and the Planning Commission recommended deferring to the standards established in the Milwaukee County agreements. So let's go back on that. The Milwaukee County agreement, I'm trying to find my email from Aaron Hertzberg, who is the Director of Administration at this Milwaukee County, and who was previously the Ballpark Commons, well, he was the City of Franklin Economic Committee Director, but he was hired for this project. Okay, Aaron Hertzberg. email. It would be wrong for anyone to cite the county agreements as suggesting a specific sound level is allowable for the ballpark commons. I'll read it again. It would be wrong for anyone to cite the county agreements as suggesting a specific sound level is allowable. Suggesting a specific sound level is allowable. Okay, during that 6/7/2018 meeting, the 78, 79 decibels was mentioned 30 times, including that the county did a sound study and determined that 79 decibels was acceptable. That the county did a sound study and determined that 79 decibels was acceptable. That is how the 79 decibels got accepted. So I would really like that to be investigated further. And as far as the planning department and anyone else at the city of Franklin, I would really like to understand who has expertise further. And as far as the planning department and anyone else at the city of Franklin, I would really like to understand who has expertise that has more expertise in sound, because the CDC, the EPA, and the World Health Organization all indicate that 50 to 55 decibels is what is required for residential areas to not interfere with quality of life issues, and then at 45 decibels at night. So I'd like to understand who is the expert at the city of Franklin to establish 79 decibels, which is actually, let's look at this. This is the airport map. The Part 150 compatibility study states that, there's a paragraph here, it's in the key. It says, residential land use as defined by FAR Part 150 compatibility study, that 65 decibels is incompatible with residential use. And it's right here on the key. And as if you notice, this contoured line, which is the runways, this is 65 decibels. It's within like 2 miles. So this facility is allowed to operate above and beyond the standards established by the airport that is not compatible with residential use. So I would like to add how 79 decibels, which is far exceeding anything at the airport, is allowed for this development to cross the property line. You could literally put one of these monitors, which I also would like to have researched when they stopped functioning, how many years they've not been functioning, and which ones are not functioning, and how it was determined. Start recording at 65 decibels when the planning manager in 2016, 2018, and 2020 all stated that the decibel level is wrong and that it needs to be 50 decibels at the property line. I would like this to be evaluated by the environmental committee, because some further work is done by the environmental committee. And I'd be happy to volunteer for any group. I know you were talking about having a special committee. I'd be happy to volunteer for that. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any that you have. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to make a comment?
Last time, I think my son, if you remember, my son Max came along as well. So yesterday after school, I teach high school as well, so I came home and I sat in the living room and I thought, what is that? I could hear inside my home the announcers yesterday. I thought, what game is it? UW Milwaukee game. I said, oh my gosh, I hadn't heard those before, and they were very successful. I don't know, I think I heard there was like 6 people in the stadium, which is, again, I don't want to disrespect the establishment or anything like that, but again, there's speakers pointed out at the neighborhood, and it points at my son's bedroom. So my son came in really upset. And so I glanced at UW Milwaukee baseball schedule, because we hadn't really been concerned with those games before. And they've got games at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning. And the music, starts an hour beforehand typically, I think is how it goes. So now that's 10 a.m. on Sunday morning, at least once I saw. And this is what we're looking forward to, another summer of this. And as I mentioned at a meeting prior to this, this is all my son's known in his life. This is like basically his childhood has been this sound in the summer. It's not the only thing, obviously. I don't want to exaggerate, but this is a major stressor for him, and it's a stressor in a way that he reached out and he tried to speak up, as I told him to. I said, it's a lot like bullying. Someone stronger doing something to you, reach out, and nothing's been done. So I'd like for the end story to be a positive message to him as like a civics lesson, like staying involved, and if something's wrong, the city will fix it. And I'm hopeful that change will come. So I appreciate you looking into this. So thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to comment?
Hello, good evening. John McAdams, 8735 West Hawthorne Court. I missed half of Dana's argument here, but I concur with her 100%. I don't know how an establishment was given this extension of decibel rule, but we as a small neighborhood in back of this stadium, our lives are being affected. We've been trying to fight this for years and years. We've gotten no traction, not even from the developer, even trying to turn as simple as some speakers around. And I don't know if that's going to do that. And if that doesn't reduce the decibel, I'm sure it's going to have some effect, but that may not be the end of the story. But at least let's try to sing our properties, and that is not even done. Something as simple as that. For years we've been dealing with this. I moved to Franklin just a little over 10 years ago. It was a beautiful house. 68 ranch, park that I could walk my children and dogs through. Love the community, close to my business and work in Milwaukee, perfect location. I can get to my work in multiple different ways. I love the city of Franklin. I love being in Milwaukee County. I'm a strong believer in staying in Milwaukee County. Unless something changes, when my girls are, I'm a strong believer in staying in Milwaukee County. Unless something changes, when my girls are out of high school, I'm out of here. I'm out of this community. I've had it up to here with it. And I'm hoping for hope and change up to here with it. And I'm hoping for hope and change. I don't know if that's going to be the end result, but I'm hoping that this community can put some, have some influence over Zimmerman and his development. We're not asking for much. We just want peace and quiet in our homes, and I don't think that's asking too much to get help from the city to have us have some relief. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to make a comment? All right, we'll close citizen comment at 7:13. And I understand we have the MMSD folks here, which is item B under new. So we'll jump ahead to that agenda item. Going to talk about green teams, rain gardens, native garden plantings.
I'm so excited about this.
Me too.
Yes. Yeah, if you guys want to come up and. Yeah, if you guys want to come up and. Are you okay with that, Madam Chair?
No, that's fine. You can sit there.
And invite our guests.
Well, thank you so much for having us. My name is Karen, and this is Ann. We've been hired by MMSD Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District to do a Franklin Green Summer, and we intend to be here all summer long talking about green infrastructure. So MMSD, as you know, is a lot of people don't think of it as an environmental organization, but obviously it has 1 million customers, serves 28 municipalities, and in addition to doing water reclamation, they also do stormwater management. They've done long-range planning about how best to manage stormwater. We all know we see more frequent storms, more intense storms, and how to have a addition to all the gray infrastructure, pipes and plants. They have a goal of capturing 740 million gallons across their district with green infrastructure, trees, plants, rain gardens, rain barrels, and that would capture that first half an inch during a major storm. So we've been in a lot of community enthusiasm already from people we've met. And I'll turn it to Ann to what we're going to be doing this summer.
Yeah, thanks again for having us here. We're excited to be in Franklin. This is our 10th year of being in different communities. And this is very much a community engagement process where we talk to individual residents about very much a community engagement process where we talk to individual residents about how they can capture and manage stormwater on their own properties. And the benefits of that are helping to keep our waterways clear, as well as helping to reduce the risk of basement backups. So throughout the course of the summer, we will be giving away the risk of basement backups. So throughout the course of the summer, we will be giving away approximately 100 rain barrels to residents who are interested. We come into different communities and we start to network with people who are already sort of inclined to talk about green infrastructure, and then we network with their neighbors and their friends as well. I'm also a master gardener with UW Extension, so I had reached out to the Master Gardener listserv, which is how I met Deb. And then Deb invited us to a Wild Ones meeting, and then make our connections in the community with people who understand the importance of managing stormwater, which also includes native plants, which have deeper root structures. So there is a gardening element to it. That's me helping to put in a rain garden in one of our previous communities. And then the other picture is of our summer assist. And so the rain barrels actually get installed for whoever the customer is. And this is all courtesy of Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewerage District. So we plan to kick off our summer with Arbor Day, where we'll be present giving away some kind of native plant material yet to be determined in the community all summer long. We typically ask that when residents receive one of the either free rain barrels or rain gardens, that they talk to their neighbors, maybe have them present for the installation too, so that we can continue to spread the word. And sometimes we find a public location for if there's something in a public space and people can come look at it and see what they could potentially implement on their own properties. We have handouts that I can leave behind that also includes the information on how you sign up to be on the list to receive a free rain barrel. You can use the QR code or you can go to the website. We have a phase start this summer. We'll hit the ground running and start doing installations. So thanks for having us here tonight, and we're excited to be in the community. And please let us know if you have any questions about the program.
I have a question. What are your thoughts on using pesticides for weed control? What are your thoughts on using pesticides for weed control?
Well, typically we discourage the use of synthetic chemicals because there is a risk that they will run off into the waterways and negatively impact. Our watersheds.
I'm gonna add to that. Mm-hmm. Now, if you put in this, I just wrote it down, the garden in a public area so all can see, are you going to limit if pesticides are used within that area?
Well, we don't really have that authority or ability. We can make recommendations, but ultimately it's whoever is the owner of that green infrastructure has the ultimate say.
Got it. Thank you.
We're also able to refer people to resources through the Department of Natural Resources, UW Extension.
I'm talking about a city property owned by the city, our library area, but we use pesticides on our lawn.
Yeah.
So that's why I kind of wanted to know, like, so I wouldn't want to put it there if I know pesticides.
Yeah, for sure.
That's, okay. That's what I was just asking.
And we just made a site visit over there.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they've got one, or is it two?
I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, that'd be a nice spot.
Rain gardens there.
Public area, but
Yeah.
But it's all part of an education process too, so we can provide resources.
Okay.
But it's all part of an education process too, so we can provide resources.
Did you have a question? Nope. Anyone?
I've had the good fortune of Zooming with the ladies. I'd also like to recognize Deb Krzyzewski from Wild Ones. She's also a member of this green team. She's also a member of this green team, the Franklin Green Team. I think that's what we're going to call it. And I'm hoping we can expand it beyond just a few of us into people who want to do more.
Yeah.
Either eliminating more.
Yeah.
Either eliminating the pesticides from the lawns, moving to some kind of lawns or properties that require less fertilizer or none, like a native garden would. And we had started down this road, 2 years ago, and went off into the world of buckthorn, and we've been mired in that since. So I'm looking forward to moving this back in that direction.
In many of the communities we've worked in, our Facebook page ended up becoming a place where that kind of information can be shared.
Right.
And as we collect names and email addresses, we end up with a database of people, and we have our own little e-newsletter that we send out periodically.
Sure.
So if this, the mission of the program and then MMSD, that's another place where that information can be disseminated. About the name, we've used the term Green Summer in all the communities we've been into. Obviously, you can call it whatever you want. There's a private company called Green Team, so that's others. So you can call it something else if you like. We've been lovingly calling it Green Summer wherever we go. So that's like you'll see on our materials, that's what we've called it. But I also love the idea of a community. I mean, you already have this group, but I also love the idea of a community maybe growing their own, and maybe that's a green team within the community. But for our program, we're going to call it Green Summer.
And because we've been in 10 different communities, we've also seen the challenges and opportunities in other communities. So we're also able to say what we've seen work successfully, which communities have which communities have successfully reduced their pesticide use in public spaces, different strategies they've used, and again, additional resources.
Yeah, I think we'd be interested in we had No Mow. Yeah, I think we'd be interested in we had No Mow May as one of our items that we're discussing, and I think from the council they had requested some information on mowing practices for city areas and whatnot, so to the extent you've got that, anything that's worked elsewhere or recommendations, that would be good information for us to
Yeah,
have.
and I don't know where you ended up on your ordinances with the city, so we wouldn't want to put anything on the website that would not align with what you're doing, so I'll check in with you, but we can definitely talk about that on the Facebook page when we start gathering people that are interested in these type of topics. And
Are you going to be collecting names with either email addresses or something at the Arbor Day? I think you'll be impressed with the turnout, which is usually pretty good here.
Excellent.
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, excellent.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we can also share, like I said, with the resources that other communities have found for their municipal applications. I think there's a newer climate coalition for Wisconsin municipalities, and I know some area suburbs have started to join.
And is it rain gardens that you focus on, or any gardens that use native plantings? Is it?
Primarily rain barrels and rain gardens, but part of our messaging is that anything you can do, if it's pulling up a little bit of your turf and installing one or two native, that up. And it can be a learning curve for people too. So to just kind of test what they're comfortable with, and maybe they'll expand more in the future.
Okay. Yep, I've got some turf to get rid of.
I think we all do.
I will.
Yes.
Okay, any other
Thank you.
questions, comments?
Can you just talk a little bit for the group's information about the difference between turf grasses and native plants in terms of like how it affects soil absorption with water? Like what, there's sort of a practical and obvious outcome with the rain barrel, but with garden plants, it's not as obvious. So I assume there's a level of knowledge in the room, but don't want to overestimate.
Sure. So we have a really excellent slide that I don't have with us today, but when we do our rain garden workshops, it's sort of a horizontal view of the plant material workshops. It's sort of a horizontal view of the plant material above ground and the root structure below ground. So if you can imagine our traditional turf grass, if the root structure is only about this deep, so it doesn't really help to native grasses and plants have much deeper root structures that help with infiltration. So there's a pretty significant difference, and turf grass is probably the least friendly to infiltration. But we can provide that image too.
Sure. Did you drop off any at the library by chance, or?
We're going to, they have a display case that we're going to size it for them, so.
Okay.
We will, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because we've got 1 or 2 pamphlets over there already, but good, good.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Talk to you again soon.
Back to our approval of minutes from the January 25th meeting. I just had typo correction, section 4F. We didn't quite know how to spell shrub. Shrub.
Where?
Shrubs.
Oh, is it you?
Sherb.
Sure. Oh,
3 or 4 times it shows up as sherb.
sure. It's all good.
That was my only comment.
Sure.
That was my only comment.
Sure.
Sherbs, well, maybe it's a new thing. Cross between a shrub and a forb or something. Sherbs.
I'll move to approve.
I second it.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. A minute. All right. Do we want to, we can cover item A under news business, which was the Franklin noise ordinance.
Well, given the news that I just heard about Mr. Nemick, I'm
Subcommittee.
looking at an email I sent to Marion dated February 27th saying, hey, can you reach out to Tom and see if he wants to meet? I had set up a tentative meeting, but I wasn't going by myself. And I never got in touch with him. I finally got an email from him about 10 days ago saying, I'm going to review what you sent me and I'll be in touch. And that was the last I heard from him. So we have not. That was the last I heard from him. So we have not had a meeting because he's been absent and I haven't been able to discuss anything with him. However, in January, I was a very busy camper trying to cover all the territory, that Ms. Gint left for me to take a look at. And I think we did a fairly good job of doing so. I'm going to have to correct you on the police. I'm going to have to correct you on the police chief's letter. Got to tell you, because I got one from.
Oh, no, this is from 2020, not yours.
Oh, I know.
When I read it.
I'm talking about the one I got from him at the beginning of February. So yeah. The fact that we had 122 complaints just from the Rock filed with the police department last year is, to me, astounding. It doesn't say how many people, might have additionally been involved, because this is by date, I think. But even the chief had to agree that the noise level is something he is unable to enforce the way the ordinances are written at the present time. I talked to the Greendale Police Department, and two of the, I forget, they're not aldermen, but they're select men or
Trustees.
lady trustees, yes. And they ran into a similar issue that the police, the Greendale police would check their monitor, which I was amazed to hear they felt the need to create just for this problem, only to find out that it didn't exceed the residential requirements for a citation in Greendale. So they've been unable to do any, formal, charge or complaint with the city of Franklin. The Milwaukee County has contracted for a sound study, but is not releasing any results or even sharing much information about it until this summer at the earliest and possibly later. I talked to Brian Russert from Milwaukee County Parks. There's no potential parkland noise issue that I can, drag it down on it. Watch out, those gestures count now, But, clearly, everybody I have talked to is concerned about this, but it's like, I'm sorry, but there's nothing I can do. The last I heard was from the city police. Police department about the fact that a member of the city planning department goes with a police officer, anytime a complaint is filed and checks the monitors on site. But they have not found a violation, given that the threshold is 179 decibels. It's kind of like you have to drop something just short of a nuclear bomb in order to qualify as a violation. I spoke to the folks who do the Stanek Consulting Company, who are involved in the quarry study and monitoring, and they proposed a different kind of monitor, and anyone could monitor on a website, almost instantaneously. And it's going to be one of my recommendations, although it would have to be located on a residential property, because that seems to be the clue, or the key to going from the 79 decibels to the 50 or whatever level that residential properties should be able to comply with. I'm truly disappointed that Tom was not able to join us for this, because I know he was concerned. I don't remember the person's name now. I traded emails with a couple of people. I hand-delivered a letter to the ROC corporate office, and I think the principal's son, Mr. Zimmerman's son, took the letter from. I don't think we want to sit here and let them, just kind of mumble through another month or two when I know permitting and licensing periods are coming up. So I don't know if anybody wants to, I think we've done, what needs to be done other than, answer the issue of why 79 is beyond me. I've been unable to figure that out. I don't see a logical level other than it's like I said, we owe the Rock Ventures folks a meeting to discuss what their issues are, why they feel some things have to stay the way they are. I'm very disappointed to hear that they've already cranked. I'm very disappointed to hear that they've already cranked something up, and it's only March. I don't know if permitting was involved. I would hope it would have been, but we're off to an early start, and it's a long year. I'm glad our alderman is here this evening, because one of the things that I have asked for twice, not gotten an answer to, is what has the city been doing for the last 2 years about this? And I know you don't have all the answers 2 years about this. And I know you don't have all the answers, but what do we do? What, have everybody just, turned a blind eye and a deaf ear to this, or what?
No one next to you is on.
We're good. I'll speak. I still have a good voice left for a little bit. There's no way to defend the complaints that have come in other than the fact that there is whether it's a disagreement, non-compliance, whether there's a different definition of how the ordinance or how the noise levels are obtained, if there's actually working monitors on the Franklin side, from which I'm learning from my meeting prior to this way, and I'll say it again, the easiest way to resolve this, I think, is working with Mr. Zimmerman and having Mr. Zimmerman, like we talked about, it's speaker placement, speaker direction, and simple volume. And I don't know how to answer other than, if we want to spend more, we have another hour on this, which we can. But the thing is, I view it as a simple solution. I've talked to the neighbors. I see it as a simple solution to turn the speakers in and talk to the neighbors. I see it as a simple solution to turn the speakers in and turn the volume down. And I think that's going to be the majority of the issue and the problems here. And I don't think that's an unreasonable ask. I think there's a balance, and there's a gentleman here that spoke about other communities in the state of Wisconsin that have ballparks like this in residential areas, and somehow they coexist. I think that right there is a big light bulb that just goes on and says, well, how are they doing it, and we apparently are having difficulties doing it. I like to look for the simplest solution, which makes sense as a reasonable person. I think that was the most reasonable option, is speaker direction and placement and volume level. As it's not all the time, it's not all the games, it's certain games with a certain announcer that has a very, very linebacker-ish voice. That's one of the issues that we're trying to also deal with and bringing that up there. But again, right now, the ownership controls the controls. And I don't believe that, I think it's pretty simple, at least to give it a shot. Give it a shot. Next game, if you can, give it a shot. Next game, if you can, turn them in, turn it down, and if that works, I think we can all move on and coexist. But I do think my light bulb did go off for their prior meeting when we talked about that, the other ballparks that are in residential neighborhoods, and perhaps how are they doing it. So I hope I answered, and perhaps how are they doing it. So I hope I answered. I guess I don't know the intricacies of the decibels other than what the numbers are for the PDD and what's been agreed upon and what is enforceable. But I also believe that I'd like to verify a few. From my last meeting, a few of the things that were brought up, whether are these noise, and Dana, forgive me, what's the name of that are these called noise readers or?
They're just the noise monitors.
So,
Right, they're being noise monitors. It's
So-
brand name.
making sure that these noise monitors are operational, and that as the business owner proceeds with the business, that they work within the parameters that they are to work with. But I've got a group of neighbors that live to the west that this is an ongoing, and now since redistricting, I became the alderman, and now, looking at this, how to simply solve this. And I guess I don't want to belabor it, but I thought it's worth a shot to turn the speakers in and turn them down, and to me, that's.
Has the city or the citizens approached the Rock and requesting that be done?
He was at public meetings with us, and we spoke to him in a public forum, and even afterwards as.
And recently, again, or is this like,
Couple years ago, right? It doesn't matter, I mean,
is this like,
couple years ago, right? It doesn't matter, we've been to hundreds of meetings. He's been in hundreds of meetings. They're uncooperative, is point blank. They're not even cooperating with the county sound study. They won't even let them on the property to make the measurements. And then Mr. Sizek just said something about that. Greendale looks at the monitor. That monitor on the east side of the property for Greendale has been non-functional since November of 2020. So I don't know how long ago you talked to them. They just turned that thing back on 2 weeks ago. It was not functional. That thing back on 2 weeks ago. It was not functional for 2.5 years. So when and that's just commonplace with people are always like, oh no, it's that. No, it's that. Go look over there. No, that's not.
Can I just make a suggestion? I have two things. So one, I think we should be working with the owner. Two, I think we should be working with the owner. Two, if we do use this or make a recommendation towards the Corey monitoring that online system, the people in the Rock, when they're turning on their speakers, they can have that up on another screen and be like, oh, hang on a second, we're too loud, we can turn it down right away. There is no having to go check the monitor. It's all online. So to me, this is like a win-win for everybody. You don't have to get a complaint because you can pull up that monitoring system and look at it. And then as citizens, as neighbors, you're kind of like, okay, we're good. We feel this. Like everyone's I have to have it on my property. Citizens okay for it right away. And if you're at a ball game and they're like, hey, we're having a really good crowd and I'm a little excited because I'm the announcer, right? You can also be checking that during the game. To me, this sounds like almost like a win-win for everybody. I know the cost is probably going to be expensive. The second thing is you talk to the Corey company that they consult good neighbors, and we're being good neighbors to them and supporting them. Maybe we look into having some sort of monitoring for the Rock or for that large entertainment district, as I'm not sure, but what our UDO is going to say for making entertainment districts. So maybe that's something where we start to have that thought process and looking forward. Glenn is starting to develop larger areas of business and or traffic. There's people able to monitor or have citizen complaint time or anything like that where we can continue holding everybody accountable for being good citizens within our community. So that would be my two recommendations. So I think moving forward, because I think that calling the cops every day, 122 complaints, I understand our police are very important to us. We all want to make sure they're out on the streets doing what they need to do. If they're able just to monitor their own noise using an online system, like that saves one police officer from having to go out every single time there's a complaint. And I think I would rather have that guy on the street making sure that the person speeding 55 in my neighborhood is not going to hit my kid. So that's my personal. I think we can easily make a recommendation at this point when we found there's a technology that can be online monitored and we don't have to have personnel looking at it.
I totally agree with you, 100%. Why have the police involved? I mean, unfortunately, it's our only recourse right now. I'm not allowed to disclose because he would get fired at the Rock, but is not an employee directly, but hired through the Rock. I told him he knows obviously about my complaints and my feelings about the Rock, and that's the type of guy we're dealing with, who's not only non-compliant with, who's not only non-compliant with anything we've asked after it's received all this public funding, but also vindictive now. And that's obvious in his actions. So that's what we're dealing with.
I've put together a short recommendation to go to the city council, and I've tried to design it in a way that eliminates the need for the city to go on to the Rock property, to meet the compliance needs for monitoring the noise. Your street, Hawthorne, I mean, it's, pick a home in the backyard, and I mean, you're right there. I share your concern that the monitors that exist aren't working, may have been modified, may not have ever functioned properly. But again, going back to 70, then the city has to modify its agreement with the Rock, and that's going to be dragged out for God knows how long. It's much easier to say, this is the residential limit. We expect you to comply with it. To me, I do not understand the need. A 600 block. I've never been to a baseball game that I've heard that much noise come from. And my suspicion is it's more the concerts and the special events than the baseball games that are creating a lot of this.
No, it's 11 baseball games. No, it's 11 baseball games.
Is it?
Clear as a bell in my backyard.
Really? Well,
It's like you're part, like our neighborhood is essentially part of the stadium. The speakers face us as they fans.
I'm prepared to read this unless anybody asks some questions. And I mean, it's not very long. It's not going to be real complicated because I don't want the city councilman saying, oh, well, it's kind of nice, but I don't like this one thing. Because I could have made it a lot longer, but I chose not to. You're dying to get in here, not to. You're dying to get in here, Dana. Go ahead.
Yes.
Shorts?
Couple things. Dana Gitt, 9011 West Hawthorne Lane.
Sorry about that. So when you mentioned about the police reports, I want to make it very clear that I have already had a dispute with the police chief at a previous reported that there were 7 complaints. I actually pulled the police reports. There were dozens of complaints. The police department logs 1 complaint, logs 20 phone calls as 1 complaint because it's for the same development, the same event, even though it lasts 6 hours. So I'd ask you to please clarify what 122 police calls. Second of all, the police department does not come out to our neighborhood. They have not come out to our neighborhood for years. They did come out a couple times last year, I think three times. So that's, I disagree with that statement. The other thing is that 79 decibels needs to really be examined, and the monitors are not functional, and they shouldn't be recording at 65. But I love the idea of putting something. I'm sure we can find a volunteer or a couple to put some monitors in residential neighborhoods. So I really appreciate that. I think that's a great idea, and it needs to do now. It needs to be done now. There's 75 home baseball games. 75. Think about that. There's 40 live bands. 40 live bands. Then there's 15 to 20 days of Halloween that goes to 1:30. We can all tell you the sound effects, chainsaws, loops of women screaming till a 30-second loop of women screaming, doors slamming till 1:30 in the morning, and then you have all the other. There's 20 odd some other permits. Events that not necessarily permitted because there's 47 events in 2022 that didn't even have a permit. So thank you. If you have any questions, happy to answer.
And now UWM baseball's a problem. Where it wasn't last year. They have 20-some games. Thank you.
Yeah. Here, I'm actually.
Baseball's a problem. Where it wasn't last year. They have 20-some games. Thank you.
Yeah. Here, I'm actually going to read this. It's from the Audiology web. So at 80 decibels, that's an alarm clock, and at 70, that's traffic. So So to put it in perspective, so 70 traffic for 6 hours. Traffic for 6 hours consistently, or 8 hours, or however long. That would be just 70 decibels. So 79 is even louder than that. I have to put it in
Okay,
perspective.
your
sorry.
list of recommendations?
Yeah, it started out much longer, but I decided, no, I don't. The Franklin Environmental Commission requests that the City Council take the following steps to address the ongoing complaints from local residents over excessive noise from the Rock Sports Complex. 1, meet with the Rock representatives to review and discuss the complaints. 2, seek a volunteer. I'm not sure how many we have, but I'd like to see them on at least 3 different directions from the Rock. I don't know how many the city owns that are on the Rock. Or, okay, well then we'll take all 3 of them because they don't need them. Stop all permits for events taking place after sunset.
I just want to modify in one recommendation with regard to the instruments. That needs to be periodically be calibrated, because
Oh,
every
yes.
instrument must be
Yeah,
calibrated.
they would all have to be calibrated to start with, and I would not. I've looked. You can buy a little handheld noise monitor, for like $30 or $40. And I'm going to be out there this year. I'm sorry. Don't even have to go walk too far from my place, but don't even have to go walk too far from my place, but it's at least. We'll have something to compare with what we find,
But one of the issues may be that, the calibration it may be out of calibration. Who knows when, the calibration it may be out of calibration. Who knows when it was
Yeah.
done, and it's not relevant. The reading may be showing 50 decibels.
Yeah, or with calibration, recalibration within industry recommendation
Right.
standards.
Yeah,
we're taking the
Recommendation
Right.
standards.
yeah.
We're taking the monitors off the Rock property, placing them on residential properties that have the 50 decibel limit already set in stone. My suspicion is that originally I thought, well, let's just take this. Originally I thought, well, let's just take this to the city attorney for 50 decibels. But we never tried that. We've never tried it. We've just gone with whatever was on the Rock property, which wasn't enough. And Greendale didn't have any more success than we did, so.
Alderman Nelson, any thoughts?
Not more than I just shared, I believe.
No, but specific to what?
I just added.
Make sure they're functional. I mean, we should monitor their effect. I'm forgetting the name of the firm now, but
Stanek?
I'm sorry?
Stanek firm?
Yeah, Stanek. I'm sure it would be done well, so.
Can I just modify with the goal of getting an online monitoring system? Because I can call and make a complaint when it's super loud, but then in 20 minutes, an hour, the game could be over. So the sound is no longer reading at whatever it was.
Yeah,
And I feel like that, a goal of having, if it's something we can't get because of monetary costs, it's our goal is to get it. We put it in our budget for 2025 or whatever.
also recommend it.
We put it in our budget for 2025 or whatever.
Also recommend that they do the online monitoring capability.
Yeah, I concur, because that seems, and I believe that technology is only probably going to get more reasonable as, more people are trying to get involved with this and have that, and I think that's something that's a real time, more people are trying to get involved with this and have that, and I think that's something that's a real time, a tool, and that it could work both ways, that if there is some compliance with the speakers and you're showing that has been an effort and you've got compliance, and that puts to bed a lot of those concerns and citizen comments and citizen concerns, and that are a lot of those concerns and citizen comments and citizen concerns, and that are right now at the forefront. So I back
Okay.
Commissioner Gork on this, because I think that makes sense, and I think It, you know, it can't be that much. I mean, it can't.
There's a similar system.
Much. I mean, it can't.
There's a similar system that is used at Ware Nature Center to monitor bird song, 24/7. 6 months out of the year, and we were offered a unit for $500. And we were offered a unit for $500. And you can replace the batteries and replace the unit that records all the song, and how somebody can differentiate bird song in that.
The final comment I want to make is that I think that one of the monitors should actually be on the county parkland, so that because there's a lot of citizens from Greendale that complain about the noise. So I think that, and that since the ski hill is a rock property and it is a Milwaukee County Park, I think it'd be a great ski hill area there, because that is Greendale, and that'll help protect the citizens to the north.
I would suggest that if we do that, we put the monitor on the north side of the parkway, because otherwise it's sitting down in this valley. The noise is coming from up here and going right into.
This
I'm
might,
actually talking about the ski hill, like at the
and,
bottom of the ski hill.
and this might be something that Greendale's going to have to take up, because if
Right.
it's Greendale property,
Yeah,
or
it's Greendale.
Milwaukee County, the parks will have to take up. But I think right now for us to, and I hate to say I'm only trying to protect Franklin citizens right now, but for our community right now, I think this is a really great recommendation for what we can do within the city limits of Franklin. And if the rock sound study comes back, or if we can add more data to that sound study at some point, then we're at least able to show what we're hearing on the west side or the east side or north side of wherever. At least able to show what we're hearing on the west side or the east side or north side of wherever. We would be south, west, south.
Because right now, the planning department looks at the monitors, which they're not functioning. So they do not even look at the sound level unless one of us complain. Online, we can call the police all day long. They don't complain. Online, we can call the police all day long. The police doesn't tell the planning department to go look at the monitors. We have to file a little online complaint, and then they go look at it. And if we don't file an online complaint, they don't even go look at the monitor. So I had a discussion with some planning staff that it could be 90 decibels for 30 minutes, that it could be 90 decibels for 30 minutes, that if John didn't call, they wouldn't even go say, oh, no one complained, it must be okay. So that's why the constant monitoring, which is actually what the county proposed, that is continuous monitoring, auto limiting, all this kind of stuff that never happened. Limiting, all this kind of stuff that never happened. That'd be
And the data would be stored, so you wouldn't even have to, you could go back and see what happened yesterday, 2 days ago.
So, are we?
That's the ideal world,
I like what I have.
So before we make a motion, I'm writing on this
Of course.
2 places. So I feel the first one, meet ROC representatives to review and discuss the complaints. Cool. Seek voluntary reduction in noise levels to allow that in residential areas based on the current research for quality of life. Place noise monitors on neighboring residential properties within the Franklin. And do we want to do that on both the west, the street, there's the apartments, but there's also, we have the neighborhood there on, oh gosh.
In the east, that'd
Yeah,
be Greendale.
Wyndham
wouldn't it?
Hill, isn't it Wyndham Hills there? It would be, sorry, the south side.
You would have to go behind the shopping center on the east side.
It'd be reasonable to have, because then behind there you have like the Tuckaway neighborhood, I believe. And then obviously we would have one on the west side. So do we want to add?
Any complaints from that area at all? I mean,
We
why
had-
stick monitors somewhere if there's no complaints?
We did have a resident last week from Tuckaway.
Okay, all right.
So I don't know if we have those locations, unless we're saying, hey, that's too far. But then there are properties right there on Rawson Avenue across the street from Hawthorne. So we do have some properties there as well. So do we want to identify where these residential properties are, or general locations, or do we want to keep them just on residential properties?
No, I wouldn't identify the exact property until.
And then I just said that we should look into getting an online monitoring system. Okay, so then that's,
I'd like the tax incremental financing district to pay for it, by the way.
One question is, I don't know, getting the amplifier system hooked to one of these monitors so that we can program it. If it does exceed a threshold, it automatically brings it down. I don't know if it's infringing on private and
That
I don't
seems a bit
think it would touch
of a
it.
stretch.
It would just show it. I don't
Seems a bit
think it would touch
of a
it.
stretch.
It would just show it. I don't think it would.
I mean, there's a way to program it.
Oh my God, that'd be awesome. We can't do that.
It'd be
though, 'cause
nice,
it's
but
infringement.
yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
cow, that'd be so infringement. 'Cause it's a
Shut
private
the-
property.
shut the main
and
power
it's
off.
Private property.
Well, let's see if you can, someone can get into
Wow.
their
So ideally, next time we decide to put in a really large sports arena, we can say you have to have this automatic system that automatically reduces your noise levels. Hey, next time, that's right there for the board.
Yeah, connect it to their amplifier and.
That would be cool, but I don't think we can do that.
Yeah, that's what I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so is there a second to the modified? Ed, should we do a roll call vote on this one? Or?
It's up to you, Jay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Motion carries to provide this recommendation to the council.
I've got to put in for the city council to look at this.
Well,
Yeah.
well, the next council meeting, I don't know if it's gonna make it to the April 1st council meeting. This is not something that's gonna be just, there's a lot of things on that. I mean, there's a lot of points to that.
Yeah.
A lot of things on that. I mean, there's a lot of points to that.
Yeah.
It's something that's not gonna just be like this. However, I really like that online monitoring system. I mean, I didn't know that was a thing, and that seems a very reasonable, accurate, and obtainable piece of knowledge. Obtainable piece of knowledge. But I don't know how long.
Transparency.
Yeah.
Okay, that concludes our new business, I think. We'll go back to our old unfinished business. Do we have any articles for the upcoming City of Franklin newsletter? Which I'm not sure when it's, we just got one, so it'll be a few months.
May or June? Every 3 months?
For a June newsletter.
Could we just put the flyer in?
Yeah, they actually provided,
Or like a
this program provided some text and a QR code, which were included in your packet. If you guys want to recommend that be included in the newsletter, that's certainly an option. Well, it's all fit.
No.
So, we can use their text as presented or make some changes.
If we can get the other deadline dates, I'd like to get MMSD's input on, something for fall, something for winter, while we still have their attention as Franklin. They're working with us till the end of the year, and then they're going to move on to another city, and we're going to, be doing it on ourselves, all by ourselves. But I'll be happy to try to get them to do something that's seasonably appropriate for each newsletter.
Is it limited to Franklin residents only? I mean, the reason I ask is that if I shared that at our business park location, there will be residents from different areas. Will they be eligible to participate, or?
My understanding of the program was that the free resources are for specific communities, but MMSD has programs throughout their service area, which is quite large, including a plant sale and those kind of things. So it never hurts to publicize those resources.
Is there a spot to put some of these here at City Hall?
Yep, we can for sure put them at planning. I'll check and see if the clerk's office would take some in their area.
Okay. or hand them out at the upcoming elections?
Probably. But
Okay, yeah, and I'll take one even though we had it in our packet. Okay, good. Item B, we had the Common Council referral on No Mow May back to us. And I know it was talking about the city mowing practices and then native plantings.
There was a group that wanted to do a further presentation on this. I kind of shared with them our feeling that dandelions are not our preferred crop in May, but they would like a chance to rebut, and if I can, I'd leave them on the calendar if you don't mind. If they're busy or can't, I'll let you know. Is that okay?
Sure, yeah. I think we made our recommendation,
Yeah.
but we made our recommendation,
Yeah.
but we can always hear what
Yeah,
additional info. And then hopefully if MMSD gets some information on the city mowing practices, or we don't need all this turf maybe.
yeah,
Native plantings,
yeah.
Native plantings will be doing some assistance at the Arbor Day. And if you perhaps want to put out some more resources or information to folks on native plantings. Again, that could be a newsletter thing.
Right. Speaking of Arbor Day, we have not paid for or ordered seeds or another gift certificate. If we wish to do so, and if we wish to do so and get it here before January, what are going again? What can we do here? It's budgeted. I'd kind of like to stop using my credit card for city purchases. I mean, I'm more than happy to.
So like for when I work in the district, so like I work at a public entity, right? I send my buyer, like the person that, wherever, and they pay for it. So I'm wondering if that's a way we can do some purchasing that way.
I would hope the city has a more efficient means of.
Well, we could do a PO thing as well, but it's pretty much the same thing. But we just use a credit card at the district, so we have a credit card that's for the district. So it's the district.
the monitor we're working. Can you hear me?
I can.
For some reason that just crashed. But my understanding is that the planning department does have the ability to issue purchase orders. I'm not totally sure how that process would work in terms of getting that set up, but it might be possible for you to make a selection and then us to complete the order. So I can look into what that would look like. So it would be working with Gail. So you, the commission, again, you have your 2,800 budgeted minus the 300 that were 2,800 budgeted minus the 300 that was already towards this, the
Previous years.
Technically, that was last year's money.
Okay. Well, so you have your budget for this year, and there is a significant balance, and most of it's for your events. So it's just a question of, I hear the desire to not do the reimbursement process, so I'll have to get more information.
I mean, I can send you, the list of plants and what they will cost. I'll print it right off their website, and plus 150 for the gift certificate.
Gail, I don't need to be in the middle.
Can you send me her email address, please?
Gail Olson?
She's probably in there somewhere, but
Yeah, it's just
Yeah,
G.
I
Olson.
don't normally send anything to her.
It's, you get an email from her all the time, so if you type in just G. Olson, Gail will pop
Or
up.
if you call the office, I'll let her know to expect, because she understands the reimbursement process much better than I do. You just do what she says, basically.
Smart.
Follow her rules.
So,
Okay.
I don't want to
I'm writing in the notes too.
mislead anything, so. But I have a feeling that we will be able to help you complete the process. Feeling that we will be able to help you complete the process
Okay.
smoothly. That was the goal of getting these funds within the department, because.
All right.
Yeah, she usually sends our packets, right?
Yeah, Gail is the one that sends out your
So,
packets.
so the packets, if you get those emails, are they using which
I
address?
Finally,
Emails, are they using which
I
address?
finally, everything arrived. It was like Christmas.
All right.
The right email address. It was only a year I changed it ago.
I have no memory of that.
Well, that's the problem. Well, that's the problem.
All right, so we sort of started on E, the Arbor Day event.
Yep.
So we'll finish off on
That's May 6th, right?
that. May 6th, yep, I think 10 a.m. is the start time. May 6th, yep, I think 10 a.m. is the start time. A while ago, we had talked about having like T-shirts or name tags or something to identify us as commission members. Did that get in our budget?
That's part of the budget.
And do we have like a preferred?
That's part of the budget.
And do we have like a preferred vendor who's got logos and stuff or anything, or does someone?
The health department is probably the part of the city that has produced the largest number of those types of materials, so I can check with them and see. But again, this is something that I can decision, so.
Yeah. We will have to do an email out if we want to do a design, because we're going to have to give them at least 2 to 3 weeks, depending who we go. For t-shirts, just based on my last.
Is that what we want, or table apron?
Tablecloth with the city logo on it.
I don't, do we want that for some, as long as we don't put plants on it, because sometimes if the saplings are a little muddy.
Oh, yeah, it is
I
kind
don't know
of
if
a
we
messy
wanna
day.
be
Yeah.
having all that. I think like a sweatshirt, so I can kind of take, if you can tell me the vendor they've used that would have like the Franklin logo, like the Franklin
Artwork.
yeah,
Franklin
like
F.
and then we can add like environmental commission underneath it, and we can look at, and then I'll send out to you, Marion, to disperse it, and we can look at, and then I'll send out to you, Marion, to disperse to everybody else. And then we'll pick your size, whatever, and then we'll have it ordered, and we'll figure it out with Gail.
Were you thinking of like hooded sweatshirts or just t-shirts?
I'm thinking that, yeah, either a
Because it's
hooded
early in May.
or a pullover, like a pullover and embroider it, like a half zip pullover, like a pullover and embroider it, like a half zip, quarter zip it's called, or
It's
whatever.
even better.
Right?
I was.
Because then it has like a collar, so you look a little bit more professional.
I like it. Yeah.
So that's
fantastic.
I
love
was
it.
gonna look at. I'll look at both and see the cost difference. But if it's something where we can then wear it multiple times, because I know the
Because we also-
it's something where we can then wear it multiple times, because I know the
Because we also have August event too.
we do have in August, so then maybe a T-shirt. We can do both. Like a screen printed T-shirt is going to be $12 to $15. Sorry, I do this quite a bit.
And have you thought about colors? Let's say you went with a sweatshirt. Are you talking like a green?
Yeah, I'd probably do green.
Let's say you went with a sweatshirt. Are you talking like a green?
Yeah, I'd probably do green.
Like a medium green or something that kind
Probably
of
like a
captures the environmental type
Either
feel?
Hunter or Kelly.
I was actually thinking about that green, the top green that's up there.
Yeah, isn't that?
The too
Then
bright.
you'll lose the logo.
We might lose the logo in it.
Okay, then a green off.
Logo.
We might lose the logo in it.
Okay, then a green offset. Yeah.
But
Tan.
how about this? I'll look at a couple different things, because if we do embroidery, we can just do like white embroidery on the green shirt. So it would just be that logo, but just all white, but green. We could do like a black or gray with colored, and we'll see what the different prices. Wisconsin will have, say, Environmental Commission or ENV Commission. I don't know if color
com.
understand what an ENV is. Like, I know ENV because that was my major was environmental.
Yeah, no acronyms or no abbreviations.
And if nobody has it, then maybe I'll even have somebody do artwork for us. Have the Franklin Planning Commission, and they're like, because what's his name has one.
What's his name?
The guy that sits on the end that has red hair. Last year. Yeah,
Patrick Leon?
yeah. He had one, but it was blue and it was a Polaroid.
Well, that's
I mean, several departments have,
Yeah.
their own.
so.
Yeah.
We just have to figure out
Who does what?
Sure, that's a great idea.
So, okay. So yeah, if I can just get a vendor and I'll ask them for a couple mock-ups. Do they use All-Star? Okay. I have a feeling they use All-Star just because of its location. Because it was in Hales Corners. All-Star just because of its location. Because it was in Hales Corners. Got it. Okay.
And our former commission member, Pat Homack,
That was bad.
she's doing well. I ran into her and then she sent me an email, or didn't run I ran into her and then she sent me an email, or didn't run I met up with her at another event, and then she sent me an email saying, weather permitting, she's planning to do clean out of the library rain garden on May 6th. So, if any or all of us are available, bring and then apparently Public Works will pick up the trash bags.
I'll let my daughter come with her.
So, yeah, friends, family, spouses, children.
Is she doing that like at 10 o'clock or is she going to do it after?
I'm thinking it may be, well, maybe she'll be starting, I should be able to help out once our event is done.
Okay.
And, yeah, I don't know what all has been accumulated in there, but it shouldn't take too long if there's a number of folks that can work on it. What else for Arbor Day? Sounds like MMSD is going to show up. If it is bad weather, we can have, not the main room, there's a different room that Jennifer mentioned. But, yes, there's yoga.
And it is a hot commodity.
So, Mary?
So that was kind of a late addition.
Why are they the swamp oaks?
I don't recall, sorry.
Yeah, I think
Free.
swamp and white, maybe, whatever, last year. Okay, good. Along with, was he okay with our selection of shrubs? Shrubs and trees. Anything else on Arbor Day?
That's why she just typed it up.
All right. I guess we can work backwards. Buckthorn Subcommittee activity and or proposals, item D.
I will be the one that has to put a little stop on this. We were going to try getting together during lunch, but I unfortunately work whatever time, so I wasn't able to join. But once summer starts, I'm sure we'll have some more activity.
Do you want to work with Ware?
Yeah, I think they're the experts in the area besides like Root River, but Root River is doing a lot of cleanup stuff down in Racine right now, so.
They were fun.
Cleanup stuff down in Racine right now, so.
They were fun. Working with the grade schools here in Franklin, it was great.
Yeah. So,
Okay, we'll keep it on.
yep.
More info down the road. And then item C was the Environmental Commission participation in the UDO task force. I think there was a bunch of action back in February.
Yep, so on February 6th, the planning department presented an update to the committee of the whole on the status of the project. So you received the same material that the committee, please forgive us for not printing out all 200 pages of it. But I figured that might be a bit much, and something we've already seen it. So basically at this point, in the process, we, tomorrow evening, there will be a review of Articles 10 and 11. Already should have gone out to the
do a presentation for us
The
specifically?
consultants.
Yes.
No,
Okay.
it's not in the scope of their contract, so, it's not in the scope of their contract, so, I could make a request to see, if there might be some options for a meeting, maybe during business hours as part of some of the staff discussion, but technically their input, and the work that they're supposed to be doing includes like a number of sessions with different bodies, and this body was not one of the specific ones, so.
Interesting. Will we get, so then my next question is, will the committee get that information before it goes to the planning commission? So there's more time for us to review it. So ideally, it's just smoke and mirrors right now, with even having natural resources and having an environmental commission. That shake of your head that's what she's pretty much
So I
did.
haven't seen a draft of the information when we get the draft, so how this works is staff reviews a draft, goes through it with the consultants and makes comments on the proposal and how it aligns with the existing ordinance, if we think anything significant is missing, and then that, I think it would be appropriate to send the whole commission a copy, not just the two members, so that if you have comments, your representatives can send those comments on up. But in terms of you seeing a draft ahead of the task force itself, that would not be appropriate.
Okay.
So.
All right, anything else on that?
Do we have an expected date for that?
No. It's next. No. It's next.
All right. I think we've covered all of our agenda items. Unless I've lost track. Our next meeting is April 26th.
Oh, what about Novo May? We're gonna see if we can get another individual to come back. We're gonna see if we can get another individual to come back.
Yeah, James was in touch with someone who wants a rebuttal. on
No,
Nomo
for
May.
Nomo May, yeah.
So potentially, if they can attend one of our meetings.
There was a lady who expressed interest in joining the commission, and I don't know, I'll have to check and see if she submitted an application or,
In order to promote Nomo May?
I'm talking
Oh.
about joining the commission.
Okay.
Do we have any applicants at this point?
I sent an email upon finding out about Mr. David's resignation to the clerk and the mayor. I had inquired a couple months ago because you have a vacancy already.
Yeah.
This commission.
So there's 2 openings right now?
There are currently 2 vacancies.
Okay.
And the city website that says these are the commissions with vacancies or openings doesn't list us, so,
I will follow up with the office about that, so.
yeah. Hopefully we get listed again. I don't know, past, I don't think, but,
The volunteer form is on the city website there's like that I want to section, and one of the choices is to volunteer, and that would be the avenue if you speak to someone who'd like to join, for them to put themselves forward. So that, the nominee, but I mean, we're always still at quorum as long as everyone comes, so. Not looking out.
yep. Okay, are there any other items that we want on the agenda for next time? Okay, we've got enough items here. Adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, meeting is adjourned at 8:20. 26.